Namaskar. In another monologue, we saw how India has become one of the biggest exporter of oil products to the European Union. Today, we are going to look at how Russia has managed to beat all the sanctions and continues to supply liquefied natural gas or LNG to Europe. That part hasn't stopped. Then what is the question about having sanctions imposed on Russia? So we are going to get a deep down on this one. Please like this video, and if you have not already subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. Here we go. How come Europe is importing more LNG than ever before, even though there are sanctions in place? Well, what is going on? Europe is purchasing Russian gas at record levels in 2025, despite prior efforts to reduce dependency on Moscow. In other words, Europe is funding Russia in its effort or in its war against Ukraine, and it's also funding Ukraine in its war against Russia. So I don't really understand what is going on. So to get a handle on this, let's take a look at the numbers. It's going to boggle your mind. Are all these sanctions just on paper? The reason I'm asking is because what is happening on the ground is not at all reflecting of what is supposed to be happening. If the weather is the reason, well, then they should have thought about it before imposing sanctions. They could have probably stopped Russia from invading Ukraine, because after all, they had lined up in front of Ukraine for about 6 to 8 months before they invaded. So whatever it is, let's take a look at the numbers and it'll just boggle your mind. I mean, there's no way the EU can go about preaching India for it buying crude from Russia. Billions of dollars are flowing to Russia, providing financial support for Kremlin amidst its ongoing war with Ukraine. Recently, a transit agreement has expired, which means that this probably is going to go even higher. The situation complicates the European support for Ukraine as well as Russia. So what is really going on? Here are some of the numbers. The data has been collected by a commodity intelligence firm called KPLER and has been analyzed by Politico magazine, and we are giving you all the links. We're just going to touch on the salient points here just to give you an idea of what are the numbers that are looking at. Look at the 2025 number. That is really huge. 837,300 metric tons of liquefied natural gas from Russia. That marks a record high from 760,100 tons brought in during the same period last year. So what is this ban on Russia? It looks like it is business as usual. Well, one can make the argument that if people are going to freeze to death in the Western Europe, well, they have to make some sort of an arrangement. So it looks like only US is interested in aiding the war from the Ukraine side. This is stupidity. Within 5 months of the war starting, they were almost there to sign the peace ceasefire accord. Then Boris Johnson flew from UK and stopped Zelensky from signing the agreement. One wonders what was at work, who twisted whose arms, and who stands to gain now. Whatever it is, this is a big mess now, and I'm hoping that somehow Trump will find a way to fix this problem and fix it soon. Now, countries like Slovakia and Hungary relied heavily on the Ukraine gas transit route for energy supplies. These nations lobbied for the transit deal's renewal, warning of higher costs for the LNG as an alternative. Now, here is how the amount of LNG is coming from Russia into various European countries. You can see Finland there, and the thickness of the line tells you the amount of gas that is being routed. For example, look at Germany, that's the thickest one, then Italy, then you have Hungary and Bulgaria. Just about every Western European nation is getting some LNG or the other, and most of these nations get really cold in winter, so there is all the heating that needs to be done that requires liquefied natural gas, and therefore this is all happening. So that begs the question, what kind of control does US have over Europe? And more importantly, why did US not find an alternative? And if they did not have an alternative, then why are they continuing to fund the Ukraine effort? Tough questions, isn't it? And let's hope that some sanity prevails and Trump finds a way to stop this thing today. Kremlin-friendly Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico has even vowed to cut off electricity supplies to Ukraine and slash support for refugees if Kiev doesn't back down and allow transit to resume. So basically right now Ukraine has put a stop, and as the supplies run out, the European nations that are getting LNG are going to get more desperate. So Robert Fico of Slovakia is actually Kremlin friendly, meaning he's a Russian friend. So he's on the side of Russia. He says that 95 to 96% of Russian LNG arriving in Europe comes from the Yamal plant, a vast facility in frosty northern Siberia. And I'm going to show you on the map how this is going to happen, because this ties in with the Greenland possible acquisition by United States. The majority of those volumes are long-term contracts, he said. So it's not like EU is buying additional spot cargoes. It is these contracted volumes that are coming in. So look at the map here. Yamal Peninsula is somewhere in the middle of this drawing, and you can see how quickly the gas can come on the sea route from Yamal to maybe places like Netherlands and so on and so forth. But remember that it is cheaper to send LNG using pipes than using sea. Sea is probably the next cheaper option. And that's why this terminal agreement that Ukraine is threatening to stop is a big deal. It drives up costs, which means inflation is going to go up even more in Europe. So you can see that once the Arctic traffic opens up, then Yamal Peninsula is not very far for last LNG supplies to the eastern seaboard, whether it is China or South Korea or Japan, where it all gets quite cold during winter. Now, the other option is to go through the Suez Canal, but then depending on who is trying to be naughty there, you never know how much traffic can flow through. Now, 𝗪𝗡𝗙𝗪 𝗔𝗘𝗡𝗏, a spokesperson for the European Commission, said that efforts to squeeze out Moscow's share of coal, oil, and gas imports have already broken Russia's grip on Europe's energy system. But who are the alternatives? Despite these significant results, Russian energy, particularly gas, is still present in the EU. Gas imports from Russia have increased in 2024, including LNG imports. This gives rise to serious concerns, she acknowledged. The point here is that who are the alternatives? Qatar could supply, but Qatar has got long-term contract with India and China, huge consumers of this. I mean, today you don't see any gas cylinder problem in India, do you? That's why. Why? Because it's all being, long-term contract with Qatar, and it's all going humming like a bee. So the total gas purchases in January 2025 exceed the annual purchases made in 22, 23, and 24 combined. All three combined. So I think Europe wants to forget that there is even a war between Ukraine and Russia and wants to move on because they feel the pinch much harder than anybody else. The imports of Russian liquefied natural gas to Europe, you can see here in 2022, there was a spike, and then again now there's an even bigger spike in 2025. What does this all mean? It means that both Russia and EU, Europe need each other, and this senseless war needs to stop today. I'm hoping that with Trump coming in, a new sheriff in town, that somehow reason will prevail and this war will be stopped and Ukrainians can get their life back on track. I have heard that close to 5 million Ukrainians have left Ukraine and have settled in the neighboring countries. They will all want to come back to resume their lives. But more importantly, the landmines will have to be removed. A lot of stuff that needs to be done. And also a little matter of whether Ukraine is going to be a member of NATO or not. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.